I had a moment where I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? But then this wave of peace and calm came over me, and it's so hard to describe because although I have a calming voice and certainly strive to be in a state of calm as much as possible, I feel like I'm like the little Energizer bunny inside. I'm always thinking, as I mentioned, I'm restless inside, but more so today. But I felt at peace. Hey y'all, my name's Jen. I'm a health and life coach on a mission to empower women, and this season I call the messy middle. We believe it's never too late to dream your wildest dreams and to build lives freed from the shoulds and have-tos. Here, we talk to ourselves like we do our girlfriends and our sisters and daughters. I will share stories and resources with lots of encouragement and a little bit of tough love to drive you toward action. In this podcast, we talk about everything: career, relationships, motherhood, and health. So grab your sneakers and let's go, because she's wild and freed. Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of She's Wild and Freed. If you're new here, I am Jen and I'm your host, and I am really looking forward to this episode today and just spending some time with you. I'm going to do things a little differently today. So again, if you're new here, welcome. I host this podcast, She's Wild and Freed, and post episodes every Wednesday. And we talk about all the things related to life, your health, habits, doing things in a way that make you feel good. And if you're not new here, if you've been listening for a while, I'm so happy you're here too, because you're going to hear something just a little different today. Typically, I have a full script written out where I go through and really read out my episode. I really enjoy writing. I talked about that a little bit a couple of weeks ago. And so I love to write out everything, review it, edit where I need to, write out some more, edit again, and get it into its final state before I come here in my closet to record. But today I was feeling restless. This happens sometimes. I will wake up just feeling out of sorts. Nothing different about the day. I'm recording on a Monday, so the week's starting. Getting my son up, which he was already up this morning, which was great. Getting him to school and going about my day. But this restlessness that I was feeling, I don't know, it felt different. It felt different than ways I felt in the past. I definitely have had that where I've just got to get up more from my desk if I'm working. Today, I went on multiple walks. I ended up listening to a lot of podcasts. So I know something's up when I start reaching for anything and everything to give me information that will help me with this restlessness. The other thing I do, and you'll know this about me if you listened for a little while or if you know me, I struggle with caffeine. Caffeine is my happy drug. I use it to help me when I'm feeling down, sad, emotional, tired. So when I'm feeling restless, for some reason, I'm already kind of anxious and up, I go in for more caffeine. So I started my day out with mushroom coffee, I really have gotten into that. It still has caffeine in it. It's less than what a regular cup of coffee or like espresso would have, but start with mushroom coffee, all good. I ran an errand today, which I'll talk about in a moment. And then, hey, I'm out and about, so why don't I just stop by the Starbucks and get myself a drink? So I did. Got a brown sugar shaken espresso, which is double espresso with some syrup and oat milk. Shaken up. Tastes really good. And then later in the day, I ran out and I got my energy drinks. They're two for $4.50, I think, at this gas station I go to. So I did it all today. I reached for the drinks, the substance, the caffeine that for some reason I think is going to settle me when I'm feeling restless or off my kilter. So the errand I ran today is directly related to some of the feelings that I'm having. I wasn't planning on sharing this yet on the podcast. Again, I'm very structured and I calculate things just like I usually script these episodes out. So I wasn't planning on sharing this. And I realized through one of the podcasts I listened to that I've got to do things differently. I can't continue to operate in the way that I have, the old version of me, if I want to move forward, if I want to expand, if I want to live the life of my dreams. And ironically, that is what I share a lot about on this podcast, doing things differently. However, I found myself getting back into old patterns, reaching for the caffeine more, doing things that maybe has quote unquote worked for me in the past, and it really doesn't serve me anymore. So what I'm going to share today is I lost my job now going on 4 weeks. I've never been in this position. I've unfortunately been on the other side as an HR professional where I've had to let people go, whether it be for cause, they had to be let go because of behavior or actions that they took, or through workforce reduction in force, layoff, whatever you want to call it, which is what I have come into. So I was laid off. It was on a Thursday. My manager had scheduled a regular one-on-one with me and then wanted to bump it up a day, which isn't uncommon. We would move our one-on-ones around as needed, and she was actually headed out of the country in the next week, so I thought nothing of it. We bumped up the meeting, and I was ready for our call. Now, prior to this, I will say I was starting to feel uneasy in my position. And I won't go through all of the stuff, but I just was starting to feel like something was up. I was finding that I had less and less to do, was asking for more things. I was reaching out to other departments and colleagues to work on projects, which I was working on special projects, but my core responsibilities were seeming to lessen. And my one-on-one I had previously with my manager, I expressed my dis-ease with her. I told her, I was like, this just feels unsettling. To which she didn't have much of a response to that, which was interesting. After that call, and I say call because we were in a virtual environment, almost all of us worked remotely, so we were always doing, Google Meet calls. After I had that meeting with her, though, and because I was feeling unsettled, I discussed my concerns with another leader in the organization who is also a very good friend. And, we started to brainstorm. And she asked me, which I always appreciate when a leader does this. She asked me, well, what do you want to do? Because we'll figure this out. And it's a beautiful question. It's a hard question to answer sometimes when someone puts you on the spot, or you're just not sure if you want to answer exactly. But we brainstormed a little bit, and after that call, I was feeling a little better. I knew that she had my back. I knew working with her as I had for a while that we could figure out how I could continue to contribute, work on things that I enjoyed, but also, of course, help the organization move forward. The morning of the day I had the call with my manager, I also spoke to another leader who, as an HR professional, I was supporting multiple groups within this business, and he was the leader of those groups. So I expressed my concern to him as well, and share that I had spoken with the other leader in the organization. And he asked me, he said, well, how do you feel about all this? And I said, I'm frustrated. I'm asking for things. I am saying that I want more. I'm doing my part. And I will continue to do that. So right after that call with him, I then had the call with my manager. She brought on another HR leader. And for a split second, I thought, oh, they found something for me. But it was the opposite. She started reading the script that she needed to read to let me know that that day, that moment was going to be my last day. So I listened. I will say my heart started racing. I haven't been in this position before. And then, after a few back and forth, me asking a few questions, my manager said some nice, kind words, and then said I could go ahead and log off for the day. I had a moment where I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? But then this wave of peace and calm came over me, and it's so hard to describe because although I have a calming voice and certainly strive to be in a state of calm as much as possible, I feel like I'm like the little Energizer bunny inside. I'm always thinking, as I mentioned, I'm restless inside, but more so today. But I felt at peace. I have experienced quite a few transitions in the last year. We moved our whole family to the coast of North Carolina from the central part of North Carolina, about 3.5 hours away. So not a big move, but a move, uprooting our whole family. My daughters went on to college by the coast. My son started middle school. We did that last year in August, September, so right around this time. Then in January, I told my husband that I didn't want to do this anymore. So we separated officially in February. And now, as a single mom, as the breadwinner for this family, I'm not going to get into the details. Obviously, my soon-to-be ex is involved, but we live separately. I am now in a place where I don't have a steady income, and I have a home, and I have groceries to buy. And I know that some of you listening have been here before, maybe not the same situation, but you've been in a situation where you've lost your job for whatever reason, or your situation has changed at home, your relationship, we're all living through a time where things are just more expensive. It doesn't matter what your income level is. We're feeling it. We're feeling it at the gas pump. However, the gas prices have gone down for a while, which is nice, but feel it at the grocery store. Anytime we want to have experiences with our family, it's just more expensive. So here I am. I'm here at this transition point, and I took a day after being let go. I went to the beach. So beautiful thing about living here at the coast, I was like, you know what, forced day off, I'm going to the beach. And that was fantastic. I had a few calls from leaders and colleagues who found out about me being let go through this workforce reduction and had really kind words for me. So I'm very grateful for that. And even saying, I'm going to see what I can do for you. Maybe we can get them to give you your job back or find you something. So really, really nice response. And those have continued to come in through LinkedIn. I've gotten a few texts and messages and calls. So I'm very grateful for that. I always say, wherever I work, the people make all the difference. I have worked with some truly amazing humans. Their level of intelligence, their ways of working with people, the ingenuity, the grace that I see with some of them, the truly loving on their people is just, it's been an honor. I can't say enough how much I really appreciate the folks who I've worked with. And when I've decided to leave companies, when I've decided to move on, that's always been the hardest part for me, is leaving the people. I developed these really strong bonds and relationships, and that's the hardest part. So being forced to leave was a hard one because you don't get to say goodbye. Of course, I can connect with them through other ways, but it is different. So here I am, again, feeling restless today. I'm in week 4 of no job. I have been doing all the things. I updated my resume. I started searching for jobs on LinkedIn and Indeed. I applied for unemployment, and I've been applying for jobs. And this morning I was talking to my daughter before she went to class, and I was like, man, what sucks about applying for all these jobs, and I've been keeping track of everything I've applied for in a spreadsheet, of course. I've applied for, I think it was 26 jobs as of today. And I told her what sucks is, like, you do all this work, you apply, putting out your resume, and then you don't hear anything. Of course, in that moment, I checked my email and I heard from one of the companies saying, thanks, but no thanks. So I was like, okay, just when I said that, I get that message. Now, I have had an interview for one. I did decide it wasn't for me. It was a temporary position, which I'm not against temporary positions. I actually was seeking that out. But through the interview, I just decided it wasn't for me. I've had a discovery call, so it wasn't really an interview. I had a referral from someone I knew, so not sure where that'll go. But then the other thing I've been really concentrating on is my business. As you know, I have this podcast, She's Wild and Freed, been hosting for over a year now. And I have a business, a coaching business called Freed Coaching Co. And when I got laid off, I was like, well, is this the universe telling me it's time to go all in? Is it time for me to go all in on this business? This is what I want to do, period. I want to coach women through whatever part of their journey they're on with their health and well-being. I want to make an impact. I want to have some flexibility and freedom in how I work, where I work. I want to serve you. And so I asked myself that question, is this it? Is this the time that I go all in? So I'll say I've gone about halfway in. I was laid off right before Labor Day. So ironically, on Labor Day, I was laboring because I got into that go mode of like, okay, what am I doing? Where am I going? How am I going to do it? And I started researching courses and resources and networking groups locally that I could plug into. And I found this course with our local small business group called Take the Leap. And it's literally for entrepreneurs, small business owners, or folks who want to be entrepreneurs. Entrepreneur, that's a really hard word for me to say. I'm like, how am I going to be one of those if I can't say or spell the word? Still working on that. But for those folks, just like me, who want to own our own business, I was so stinking excited. I immediately applied to get into this class. I also signed up for some other courses, some webinars. I started registering for networking groups so I could go meet with them. I've gone to several networking events and had some friendly faces that I knew from some of the events I've been to before, because I was just dipping my toe into what networking is, but also met new people, new business owners, folks at different levels of their journey, as well as at different phases. Some like me, starting out fresh, some who have been in business a year or two, some longer, and they're continuing to network and make connections and serve each other, which I think is so beautiful. The first time I met with the networking group here in my local community, I was nervous because, yes, I have an LLC. I have a business name. I have a what the heck's that called? A logo. I have some bones put together. I have my coaching program. I have that ready to go when anyone's ready to, take the leap with me and get coached on their health and well-being. But I haven't had any paying clients for a while. Like I've said in some of my podcast episodes, life happened. A lot happened in the last year. And I did commit to myself, though, that when we moved here, I was going to start meeting people. I was going to start networking, not just for my business, honestly. I was just trying to get out and meet people in the community. And I found this group, and they were so welcoming, so supportive. If you need something, if you need to bounce ideas off of somebody, please call me. No trying to sell their, website design or their coaching or their massage, whatever kind of business they had. All of this to say is today I was feeling really restless. I didn't want to stay inside. I kept going outside and doing work. I went for multiple walks. I listened to several podcasts. And one of the podcasts I listened to today, she opened up with the average life expectancy for us humans is 76. And that was like a freaking punch in the throat. Now, I don't expect to live to be 100. I don't know if I even want to live that long. I think I've talked about that on another episode too, where my idea of living into my old age is more in the 80s. But when she said that, and thinking about me, I'm 47 years old. That's less than 30 years left. I don't want to continue doing the same thing. I've been trying to fit myself into a box that wasn't made for me. I want to do things differently. I'm scared. I don't know what's in front of me. I can do all the things. I can keep my day structured. I can apply for the jobs. I can try really hard to live and work in this 9-to-5 rat race. I've been doing it. I've been doing it for over 20 years. Gosh, for 25 years. Wow. I hadn't really thought about that. I've been sliding into the system, whatever the systems are at my employer. I molded myself to walk, speak, act like it was expected. I've been doing that even longer than my working career, and I don't want to do that anymore. And like I said before, I was not going to record this episode for a few more weeks. I wanted to be able to report I survived. I made it through this job loss transition. I have a job, or, whatever result it is, I did it. I wanted to be able to report that. But one of the things I really want to express to you all throughout the time we're together as you listen in is I'm figuring it out too. Yes, I may be a step or two ahead of you with my fitness or my nutrition or my mindfulness. Yes, I've read a couple of books on habits. Yes, I have a podcast. But I want to express to you that I'm still figuring this stuff out in real time. And what I figured out today through another podcast is that I want to do things differently. So I recorded this episode with no script. I do have a few notes here. I'm sharing vulnerably. That's a hard word to say too. Vulnerable. I can't say it. I'm being vulnerable because I don't know what comes next. I do have a severance, so transparently, I have a severance package. It will carry me through for a little while. I lost my insurance when they let me go. However, of course, if you've been through this before, or even if you've left a job voluntarily, there is COBRA available. So I navigated looking into COBRA, but also looking into healthcare.gov and my options there. I am unsure of the future, and it's unsettling. And I'm okay with that. I know that I can't go back to working in a corporate setting with the rules, the policies, the expectations. And not because I don't think those things are in place for a reason, and that, of course, they're paying me to do a job. There's going to be expectations. But it's time for me to step outside of that box. It's time for me to close the door. It's time for me to do something differently. So if any of this resonated with you, if you're in a place where maybe you've lost your job or you're miserable at your job and you want something different, if you're at a place in your relationship where things are just not right and you want something different, and I'm not saying it's time to separate. That was a decision that I made, but you can look at your relationship and do something differently. If you're at a place in your health and your well-being where you're tired of feeling tired, or you want to feel good, it's time to do something different. Thank you so much for sticking with me through this episode. Thank you so much for going on this journey with me. And know that I'm with you too. I want to be a resource, a support, and I want you to know that you're not alone. We're in this together. Talk to you soon. Thank you so much for spending time with me. I hope you feel free to take action toward building the life of your dreams. If something in this episode resonated with you, I would so appreciate it if you would text it to a girlfriend so she can hear the message as well. Until next time, stay wild.